Hello and welcome to the latest video on my top 10 greatest fighters by division series. So on this one I am listing the top 10 greatest lightweights, and of course on my old channel I started at heavy, did light heavy, middle, welter and lightweight, and then didn't go any further. Obviously tomorrow we'll jump in with the featherweights and the bantamweights before finishing the flyweights the following day. But yes, this is the top 10 greatest lightweights of all time in my automated rankings. So please remember the stats on slide are for information purposes only. Many of these fighters accomplish many of those stats at lightweight, but not always. Okay, so they are for information only, and they do not correlate directly to where they are ranked. So let us go to the 10th greatest lightweight of all time in my rankings, and that fighter is the great Carlos Ortiz, a fighter I admire massively. Carlos Ortiz, okay, beat 5 world champions. He had 14 fights against champions, and he fought 146 rounds against champions. Now, Ortiz beat 5 Hall of Fame fighters. He had 13 fights against Hall of Famers overall, and he fought 131 rounds against Hall of Famers in his career. So Ortiz had 14 title fight wins. Okay, he made 11 title defenses, and he fought a total of 201 title fight rounds. Now, Carlos Ortiz scored 30 knockouts in his career. He scored 5 KOs against champions, 4 KOs against Hall of Famers and 10 KOs in title fights. Carlos Ortiz won 6 world titles. Now, he was rated 7 years in the pound for pound rankings. He was ranked 3rd in 1958, 7th in 1959, 6th in 1962, 10th in 1963, 4th in 1964, 4th in 1966 and 3rd in 1967. So Carlos Ortiz kicks off the top 10. When we go to 9th place, okay, it is the clutch, Sammy Angot. Now, Sammy Angot, okay, beat 10 world champions. Okay, he had 26 fights against champions, and he fought 248 rounds against champions. Now, Sammy Angot beat 8 individual Hall of Fame fighters. He had 21 fights against Hall of Famers and fought 212 rounds against them. Now, Angot, okay, had 4 title fight wins. He made 2 title defences and fought in total 75 title fight rounds. And he scored 22 knockouts in his career. He scored 1 KO against champion, 1 KO against Hall of Famer, and 0 KOs in title fights. And Sammy Angot captured 2 world titles. So in my all-time pound-for-pound rankings, Angot was rated for 4 years. He was rated 4th in 1939, 9th in 1940, 8th in 1941 and 7th in 1943. So there is Sammy Angot in 9. Okay, when we go to 8th place, it is another Sammy, this time Sammy Mandel. A great fighter and someone Mike Tyson had a lot of respect for after Tyson watched much footage of him from the library he had access to. Sammy Mandel was a great lightweight fighter. He beat 7 world champions. He had 18 fights against champions, and Mandel fought 187 rounds against champions. Now, all in all, he beat 8 Hall of Famers individually. Mandel had 15 fights against Hall of Famers, and he fought 157 rounds against them. Now, in title fight numbers, Sammy Mandel scored 5 title fight wins. He made 4 title defences, and he fought a total of 56 title fight rounds. And in knockouts, he scored 32 KOs. He scored 0 KOs against champions, Hall of Famers, and 0 KOs in title fights. And Sammy Mandel captured 1 world title. Now, Mandel was rated for 6 years in my all-time pound-for-pound rankings. He was ranked 9th place in 1923, 3rd place in 1924, 6th place in 1925, 10th place in 1926, 7th place in 1928, and 10th place in 1929. Recently, a few months back, I had a guy come at me saying Lomachenko has outshone Mandel in every way at lightweight. Yes, of course he has. Anyway, on to number 7 on the 10 greatest lightweights, and it is, prior to Roberto Duran, the longest reigning lightweight champion in terms of defences with 11. Roberto Duran then broke that record with 12 in the 70s. But Joe Brown was a long-time lightweight champion. He beat 4 world champions individually. He had 14 fights against champions, and Joe Brown fought 128 rounds against champions. Now, he beat 1 Hall of Fame fighter individually. He had 4 fights against Hall of Famers, and Joe Brown fought 37 rounds against Hall of Fame fighters. Now, in terms of titles, okay, Joe Brown scored 12 title fight wins. He made 11 title defences at that time of them record, and he fought 155 title fight rounds. Now, Joe Brown scored a total of 55 knockouts. He scored 2 KOs against champions, 0 KOs against Hall of Famers, and 6 KOs in title fights. Joe Brown, of course, captured 1 title, the world lightweight title. So Joe Brown was rated for 6 years in my all-time rankings. He was ranked 10th in 1956, 3rd in 1957, 2nd in 1958. He was pound for pound number 1 in 1959. He was ranked 8th in 1960, and he was ranked 5th in 1961. So the great lightweight Joe Brown comes in 7th place. When we jump to 6th place, okay, is the great Welsh wizard Freddie Welsh, the fighter I rate as the greatest Welsh fighter of all time, above Jimmy Wilde. Now, Freddie Welsh beat 7 individual champions. He had 16 fights against champions, and he fought 174 rounds against champions. Now, Welsh beat 7 Hall of Fame fighters. He had 18 fights against Hall of Famers overall, and fought 230 rounds against them. Freddie Welsh scored 3 title fight wins. He made 2 title defences, and Freddie Welsh fought 60 title fight rounds, and he scored overall 35 knockouts. He scored 1 KO against champions, 1 KO against Hall of Famers, and 0 KOs in title fights. Freddie Welsh captured 1 world title, and he was rated for 6 years in my all-time pound-for-pound rankings. Welsh was ranked 6th place in 1907, 3rd place in 1909, 9th place in 1913, pound-for-pound number 1 in 1914, ranked 10th in 1915, and ranked 6th in 1916. So the Welsh wizard Freddie Welsh sits just outside the top 5. Okay, so when we break into the top 5, the first name, and he did much work outside of lightweight as well, which kind of hurt his overall ranking, Tony Canzoneri, the great Tony Canzoneri. So Canzoneri beat 15 world champions. He had 36 fights against champions, and Canzoneri fought a total of 382 rounds against champions. Now, all in all, Canzoneri beat 9 Hall of Fame fighters. He had 23 fights against Hall of Famers, and he fought 260 rounds against Hall of Famers. And Canzoneri scored 12 title fight wins. He made 8 title defences, and he fought a total of 259 title fight rounds. Now, Canzoneri scored 44 knockouts. He scored 4 KOs against champions, 2 KOs against Hall of Famers, 2 KOs in title fights, and Canzoneri captured 5 world titles. Now, Canzoneri was ranked for 7 years in my all-time pound-for-pound rankings. He was ranked 2nd in 1929, 3rd in 1930, 2nd in 1931, 3rd in 1932, 5th in 1933, 4th in 1934, and he was pound-for-pound number 1 in 1935. So a 7-year run there for Canzoneri. In the pound-for-pound rankings, in a very tough career, but a short career based on the number of years he fought compared to many modern fighters. What he crammed in that short time is literally incredible. So on to 4th place, okay, and some people put him number 1, but I personally do not. My automated rankings do not either. It is Roberto Duran. Now, Roberto Duran beat 11 world champions. He had 25 fights against champions, and he fought 255 rounds against them. Now, Duran beat 4 Hall of Fame fighters individually. He had 13 fights against Hall of Famers, and he fought 142 rounds against Hall of Famers. And Duran scored 16 title fight wins in his career. He made 12 title defences. Interesting factoid on Duran. He's a 4-weight champion, but he never defended a belt outside of lightweight. The other 3 divisions where he won titles, he never made a successful defence. Duran fought 222 title fight rounds, and he scored 70 knockouts. Duran scored 8 KOs against champions, 2 KOs against Hall of Famers, and Duran scored 13 knockouts in title fights. And all said in, he won 5 world titles across those 4 divisions he titled in. So Duran was pound for pound ranked also for 6 years. It seems a regular number for many other lightweights. 6 years in my all-time pound for pound rankings. He was ranked 10th in 1972, 4th in 1973, 4th in 1974, 10th in 1975, 8th in 1978, and 10th in 1980. But there are 3 names in my automated rankings at lightweight above Duran. I think all 3 of them. Duran fans always go crazy at me. But frankly, I don't rate him number 1 lightweight, and I know many other people don't as well. People have to accept that people's ratings are different. I never really complain about other people's ratings being different. The only time I will go off is if they come to me saying I'm wrong and they're right and their ratings are right. Because like I told an idiot the other day in a chat section, everybody's ratings are different, and that is quite normal for human beings. You can look at Ferrari 458 Italia and say, oh, that's the greatest driver's car ever. Someone else can look at it and say, nah, I don't like it. It's just, it's like reading tea leaves trying to figure out what people think. But there's the great Roberto Duran, indeed a great fighter, greatest Panamanian fighter in my rankings for sure. Great fighter. So, the 3 names above him. The first, is a true lightweight great. Whereas Duran did a lot of work outside lightweight after that 12 defence run. Ike Williams also fought outside lightweight, but has an incredible work at lightweight. Ike Williams, beat 7 world champions. He had 19 fights against champions, and he fought 164 rounds against them. Now, Ike Williams beat 4 Hall of Fame fighters. He had 14 fights against Hall of Famers, and he fought 132 rounds against them. And Ike Williams had 9 title fight wins he scored in his career. He made 8 title defences, and Ike Williams fought 89 title fight rounds. Now, Williams, very powerful, fast lightweight he was. He scored 61 knockouts. He scored 6 KOs against champions, 3 KOs against Hall of Famers, and 7 KOs in title fights. Ike Williams also captured 2 world titles. And Ike Williams was pound for pound rated for 5 years in my all-time rankings. He was ranked 5th in 1946, 3rd in 1947, 1st pound for pound number 1, I'll say now, in 1948, 2nd in 1949, and 2nd in 1950. So a 4-year run there where he was top 3 pound for pound consecutively. So there are 2 names left. The first of them now is known as the Old Master and was very, very highly respected by the number 1. But Joe Gans, the Old Master, comes in number 2. Joe Gans beat 7 world champions. He had 21 fights against champions, and Gans fought 266 rounds against champions. Now, he beat 4 Hall of Fame fighters individually, Gans, having 15 fights against Hall of Famers and fighting 193 rounds against them. And Gans scored 16 title fight wins in his career. He made 15 title defences, and he fought a total of 263 title fight rounds. And Joe Gans, it's the 100 plus club with 100 KOs. Now, Joe Gans scored 7 KOs against champions. He scored 2 KOs against Hall of Famers, and he scored 11 KOs in title fights. And Joe Gans captured 2 world titles. So Gans was rated for 9 years in my all-time pound for pound rankings. And he was rated lower initially, but then through his lightweight reign, where the other years he was rated very highly. Joe Gans was rated 7th in 1895, 7th in 1898, 5th in 1900. He was ranked 7th in 1901. Then he was pound for pound number 1 in 1902. He was ranked 2nd in 1903. He was pound for pound number 1 in 1904. He was rated 3rd in 1906 and pound for pound number 1 in 1907. So there is the great Old Master himself, Joe Gans. So that leaves 1 name to go, and he has been my number 1 lightweight pick for years. And it is the great ghetto wizard, Benny Leonard himself. Now, I always remember I was debating with someone fiercely, and a friend of mine, Haplotype Zero, came out with a comment that was made because I was debating with this guy, and it got highlighted to this guy through my friend Haplo to him. That actually, the person who trained Roberto Duran was called Ray Arcel, yes? And Ray Arcel also trained Benny Leonard. And when asked who was the better more skilled fighter of the two, Ray Arcel said Benny Leonard. I don't think the Duran fan liked it much. But Ray Arcel knew Roberto Duran and Benny Leonard probably better than anyone else. He was the perfect judge. He was sat there when Benny Leonard was sparring Benny Valger, the French Flash. You know, he was there when Duran was during his career. Ultimately, he knows both of those fighters, and he said that skill-wise, Benny Leonard was better. So that's just a bit of salt in the corner of modern-day boxing fans' eyes that guys back in Benny Leonard's time had no skill. So anyway, the great Ghetto Wizard, beat 9 world champions. He had 27 fights against champions, and Benny Leonard fought 242 rounds against champions. Now, against Hall of Famers, Benny Leonard beat 7 individually. He had 26 fights against Hall of Famers, and he fought 235 rounds against Hall of Famers. Big shout out to Bruce in chat. How you doing, Bruce? Hope you're well, buddy. It's been a little while. Good to see you. I was telling someone the other day, Bruce, how you do the best quizzes I've seen on YouTube in boxing community, by far. The technology you use to pose the questions and answer the questions is fantastic. I've never seen out like it. That's brilliant. And yeah, we're telling him what a great down-to-earth guy you are. Yeah, fantastic. So good to see you, as always. So Benny Leonard, scored 10 title fight wins. He made 9 title defences, and he fought 107 title fight rounds. Now, Benny Leonard scored 70 knockouts. Compare that to Duran, very similar. He scored 5 KOs against champions, 4 KOs against Hall of Famers, and Benny Leonard scored 6 KOs in title fights. And Benny Leonard captured 1 world title, of course, the world lightweight title, where he reigned supreme from 1917 to 1925. He only come back later in his career due to losing a lot of his fortune in the Wall Street crash. Now, I always remember I read an old interview with Jimmy McLarnin, who is one of the great fighters at 1930s, from 20s to 30s. Jimmy McLarnin, who's a true all-time great, who beat 13 Hall of Famers himself, he said even against the older Benny Leonard, he said he was in that fight, but he had to be very careful. He realised he had to be very careful because he realised Benny Leonard was setting traps for him, purposely trying to set him up for big counter shots to take him out. And he said he'd felt his power, and he said he had to think more than any other fight he'd had in that fight. Of course, McLarnin got the win. This was an older Benny Leonard. But Jimmy McLarnin said, I felt the power and I could see him setting traps for me, and I had to concentrate like nothing else in that fight. So even an older Benny Leonard was very capable. I also, because people talk about ring IQ, and you hear it thrown everywhere in comments on videos, everyone ring IQ, ring IQ, ring IQ. They never explain what they mean by that. But this is real quick thinking in boxing intelligence for you. When he fought Lou Tendler, he got hit by a huge left hand. Tendler with a southpaw, huge left hand, and his legs went under him. Benny Leonard said, I realised that if I took a step I'd fall over. The shot caught him clean and hurt him badly. So Benny Leonard in a millisecond started talking BS to Lou Tendler. And the reason he did that is because he knew that if he did that, Lou Tendler wouldn't be able to resist giving him it back. So Benny Leonard, he felt his legs go, he thought, I can't move, I'll fall over, I'm gone. So he started talking. Blah, 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 blah. So Lou Tendler stopped punching and started talking back. And in that time, Benny Leonard recovered his legs. That is true boxing IQ. That is being in a ring, you're hurt, you understand your opponent so well, you know you can pull something off to buy yourself time to recover. That is true ring IQ. So, the great Benny Leonard, was rated for 7 years in my all-time pound-for-pound rankings. He was ranked 2nd in 1917, all within his title reign. 2nd in 1917, 5th in 1918, 3rd in 1919, 6th in 1920, 5th in 1921, He was pound for pound number 1 in 1922, and he was rated 10th in 1923. Of course, up to his retirement and then his later comeback, he never did enough to qualify into my top 10 pound for pound ratings during that time, but had a number of fights, including, as said, that Jimmy McLarnin fight, amongst others. But there's my list now. Duran comes fourth. I've always rated pretty much Ike Williams. Okay, the great Ike Williams was one of the most powerful, aggressive lightweights you will ever see. Then Joe Gans, Benny Leonard. I've heard people say no, Ike Williams did, but when you look at who Ike Williams was fighting in the era he was fighting and compare that to who Duran was fighting in his lightweight reign, fighters like Alvaro Rojas and Jimmy Robertson and all those guys, yes, Duran fought some fantastic lightweights, Ken Buchanan, Esteban de Jesus, of which he lost, then won to. So Duran has many good names at lightweight, okay, but to me, during his lightweight run, there's not enough strength there, not enough Hall of Famers there. Yes, he fought many contenders in that run. I may have to do a video one day and list it, who were rated during his run, who were champions, etc., to flesh that out. I can't do that as yet. I'm working on another project. I might as well say it. I'm working on a project, a 5 video series, because I've done a lot of old school stuff lately, so I'm going to do a 5 video series covering the top 50 greatest fighters of the modern era. Okay, now that won't include everybody like Terence Crawford or Canelo, because they're still active. They don't join my retired database until they're retired. But it will include Golovkin, who's now been added to all and haven't fought for a number of years. It will include Lomachenko. It won't include Usyk or Inoue. I could potentially calculate their score and put them in. I may do that. I may make a little list of fighters I need to score and put in. We'll see. To make it a more live list to show where fighters like Usyk, Inoue and Crawford, Canelo, of course, place. I'll decide that later. But yeah, there's going to be a 5 video series, 10 fighters a video, counting from 50 down to number 1. It's not going to be modern era, more from the 70s into 80s, Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, Alexis Arguello. It will be more from fighters mid-80s and beyond. So Julio Cesar Chavez will be included. Larry Holmes won't, because he also fought through 70s into 80s. So I am putting like a dividing line on it. But from the fighters who qualify into that period, I will include them. So there'll be Floyd and Park and Terry Norris and Barrera and Morales and Marquez and Miguel Cotto and Trinidad, Roy Jones, Hopkins, all those guys, all the main guys from the more 4-belt modern era, they'll all be included. So that's a little 5 video series that I'm going to work on later. When I'm ready for the first one, I'll create a playlist and put them on. But for time being, okay, there's my top 10 lightweights. Now, coming tomorrow will be the top 10 featherweights and the top 10 bantamweights. And then the following day, Thursday, I will then upload the top 10 flyweights. Also that day, I'll do the top 10 Italian-born fighters of all time. And then I may do a few more career videos before weekend. After that, 2 weeks of solid career graph videos. I want to pound through them and try and get them finished or close to finished. So then when we start new year, I've got my top 50 at modern era and my career videos to power through, as well as any other content next year I decide to do little mini projects. So yeah, thank you, Bruce. Never heard it put like that. Yeah, that's Ring IQ for sure. Yeah, the knowledge of your opponent and your circumstances, you're done, but your opponent well enough that you can quickly, within a second, start distracting him. That is real cleverness. That is real sharp Ring IQ. That is true Ring IQ. And Benny Leonard had it in spades. And another fighter I've commented before, Ray Arcel also trained both Duran and Benny Leonard and said Benny Leonard were more skilled, which is scary because look how good Duran was. But Ray Arcel also said that the French Flash, Benny Valger, could match Benny Leonard's skill for skill. When they sparred, he said it was fantastic. They were both setting traps, they were both countering each other, they were both leading. He was a match for Benny Leonard, pretty much in boxing skill, but Leonard had that icing knockout punch, whereas Benny Valger, the French Flash, did not. But that's another fantastic name. Didn't do enough to qualify into top 10 lightweights, but certainly ranks highly amongst great French fighters. That's the French Flash, Benny Valger. But there is my top 10 lightweights. A video on top 10 IQs in boxing would be interesting. Actually, it would be, Bruce. I was going to do a video close to New Year asking for recommendations or ideas for content. The thing about the IQ is, why I've never done a video on that before is I'm very factual, so I don't know how I could quantify each fighter's ring IQ, especially with certain fighters not having footage. I can't extrapolate how clever they were in a ring, how perceptive they were, and what factors do I consider. It's very, very hard to do that for me, because I'm very factual based, so that'd be very hard for me to do. But yeah, I have thought about that before, Bruce. It has been something that's come into my mind, and not on Hardline Boxing Talk, on my prior channel, what I launched at the end of 2014. Someone asked me about doing a video on ring IQ there, and I said the same thing. I'm very factual. I like to see the facts in front of me. I can't quantify every fighter's IQ to be able to do a list, but it is a good idea. It is a fantastic idea, Bruce. Yeah, definitely. So there we are. There's my top 10 lightweights. I'm the boxing librarian. Bruce, have a great day. You look after yourself, buddy. Take care. All the best. And I'll catch you tomorrow with the top 10 featherweights and bantamweights. I'm out for now.